A warm welcome to all. We're in conversation today with S. Ramakrishnan, Divisional Vice President, United Breweries. We're going to be talking to him about digital transformation, the role that automation plays in all of it, and how he's been increasing the amount of automation when it comes to IT processes. We'll also talk to him about a couple of interesting cases in which IT has actually played a critical role and is going to play an even more critical role in the actual process of getting to a better beer. Welcome, Ramki.
Thanks, Vijay.
Before we start to talk about automation and digital transformation and what you're doing at UB, I was really interested to know, how does an organization, an enterprise like UB, decide on its IT investment strategy? How do you prioritize that?
Well, the first thing that normally one would like to see, or the way I see it, is that we need to understand what role IT plays in an organization. That is very critical to understand. Now, if you take the role of IT varies from business to business. For example, if you look at a financial services organization, IT becomes a central point in terms of IT is what runs the business. So it becomes a strategic tool. Whereas if you look at a manufacturing company, and that also like the way we are into a different kind of manufacturing where there are a lot of restrictions. So IT cannot play a front end role. IT cannot run the business. So IT's role will be little less strategic, but nevertheless important, because IT, as you know, plays a pivotal role. So when you look at investments, what we have to see is that the system that a solution that you are looking at, is it core to your business or it is non-core. So when it comes to core systems investment, what you should try to always do is to go for the best and rock solid system, because the investment, first of all, the solution has a longer life. It will last for a longer time. There will not be that many dynamic changes. So you invest on a solution which can take you and support your growth over a period of time. Then you will have non-core systems. Non-core in the sense the systems which support. For example, if you look at a banking business, core banking becomes their core system, whereas their other retail banking, front-end facing system, they all will be different. Like in our case also, the ERP becomes the core system, but the peripheral system around it are support systems. So when it comes to support system, what happens is those things will keep on evolving. So don't try to invest on legacy kind of a solution. Try to invest on a solution which is more nimble, agile, where you can move fast, because those solutions won't have a very long life of 10 years and 5 years and all that. So typically they will keep changing with times. So try to go into a nimble solution. And another factor that you have to keep in mind is always try to look at whether you need to build it yourself, or whether you need to buy the solution, or whether you need to host the solution on premise, or you should go into cloud. So all these factors really play a role in deciding where you want to invest. So ideally, what I would normally, the way I look at it is that simple principle is, don't try to manage things which need not be managed. So wherever possible, use cloud. Wherever possible, use package solution. But there are certain specific systems which are very specific to you, those you build, which are very specific to your process, which adds value, you build. Otherwise, try to standardize, go for a package solutions.
Now, I know that despite being manufacturing, or maybe because being manufacturing, you've been fairly early adopters of things like mobility, cloud, some of those digital plays. Now, clearly, digital transformation is a journey. How critical is it to put in place automation as a building block? Because clearly, digital, while the front-end technologies look very jazzy and nice, it is these very core building blocks that really enable all of that to happen.
Yeah, that is true. In fact, for digital journey to be successful, I think automation is the key, because the digital transformation will be an ongoing process, and you will be looking at areas of digitization and digitally enabling processes. So one thing is that all these solutions that you invest, you will typically try to build and deploy much faster, maybe in weeks rather than in months. So what happens is without a proper automation backbone, it will be impossible for you to build, because you can't take a 6 months and 9 months and 12 months to build a solution and say, okay, I'm now digitally ready for this process. That's not possible. So one is automation is key, and in my opinion, what is very, very important is to have a platform of rapid application development platform where you should invest so that you can rapidly build the application and deploy. So that exactly fits into the agile methodology. So you take a process, split into multiple things, start building, deploying, going live, and that's the strategy that you should adopt.
Right. You mentioned taking this platform approach towards automation, and you have taken that approach, as you were telling me earlier, towards service management, configuration management, change management as well. A, why did you take that approach? And B, how has the partnership with Symphony Summit really panned out for you?
That's an interesting question. In fact, prior to using the platform approach, as you rightly said, we have been early adopters of many of these technologies. So we had an IT service management system probably right from 2003 or 2004. So many companies did not have those kind of things at that time. So we were using, at that time, we had a very limited option. There were 3 giant players in the market, typical classic HP and IBM and Computer Associates, those kind of platforms. And you had to choose one of them. So we also chose, based on our evaluation, one of them, and we went ahead. Now, when we deployed the solution and then started using the system in the initial period, we realized that these are all giant legacy system, and then requires a lot of trained manpower to run the system, and then it requires a lot of time and effort to be put on configurations, and then standard reports are not available. Interfaces are very bad because they're all written for 1942 times. So the interfaces are pathetic. So obviously, asking a user in 2005 to put a request through a system which has got a jaded look is just not going to work. So we thought, okay, first is we need to get out of a legacy platform. So we were looking out for a tool, and that is when the Symphony Summit came. So the first question that I asked them is that, do you have an cloud solution, or do you have only on-premise? And fortunately for them, they were on the Azure platform, on which we already have certain relationship with Microsoft on the other Office 365 and things like that. So we said, okay, we would like to go for a cloud platform. So when we looked at the whole application, from the legacy application to the new generation application, it is a sea change. While the new generation application has the same functionality, but the way the user interface is defined or the way you configure, the time to implement is far, far shorter. So that is when we decided that, okay, we should go for that solution. And at that time, of course, we also thought that it can also become a very rock solid platform where you can build additional layers. And over the last 8-9 months, what we also did was we had this change management and release management system for SAP and other applications, so which requires some amount of SDLC process to be followed. So we used this tool, did a little bit of modification in that tool to make sure that we have that process of service request, approval, change management, and testing.
So the entire workflow.
The entire workflow is being implemented. So that has helped in, first of all, internally improving the governance process. More importantly, the auditors being satisfied that the process is more robust and more dependable. So that is what we have done. And as far as our experience is concerned, we have been pretty happy with whatever the decision that we have taken.
And you also refer to the user experience and the interface. I'm assuming that wasn't jaded, but it was a little more on the modern side, right?
The whole screen layout, the color combination, simple and pleasing to the eyes. Doesn't look very complicated. When the user is not presented with a screen which looks hostile. I'm talking about at the time of users and all that. When you want to put a request and all that. But the end user side, when it comes to approval and those kind of things, it becomes quite easier. The application is also available on a browser on the mobile also. So, for example, if I'm out and if I want to approve a request, I can access the application over a mobile, and we can do that. Another thing that we also did was we implemented a single sign-on within the application, which again we were one of the first customers to ask them to do that. So what happens is when you look at the way we have done the interface, we have got something called a application, my application page in our portal. So all the application gets listed. So when a user clicks on that application, he doesn't even know whether the application runs out of my data center or it runs out of the cloud. So he just clicks and automatically takes the user credentials and logs into the system. So this approach we have taken for many applications, and Summit was one of the first applications where we did the integration. So the whole experience seamless. So at the back end we tie up a lot of things, but for the front end, if you look at it, the user feels that it is just one more application. The latency is the same. They don't really know also where the application is running from.
Fantastic. You were also mentioning to me the other day that you are now looking beyond the IT department for this tool to extend the platform. Which other departments are you likely to do
Yeah,
this
see,
for?
like the way IT touches everybody, and every single individual in the company, IT touches them. The next department which touches, like in a similar way, is HR.
Correct.
So what we are trying to do is that the HR service desk is what we are trying to put. That is something which we are discussing with the HR people, and hopefully in the next few months we should be able to do some kickstart on that. And the idea is to enable engagement between the employee and the HR, so that whenever an HR says, for example, employee asks for some request and there is an SLA that it has to be responded to within 48 hours or provided within, we'll be able to manage all that. So HR also will be another service department which depends on customer satisfaction, which are internal employees, same like IT. So it's a classic case where another department which can make use of this is what we are talking about, the next one. Then of course we can also look at other areas like sales, query management, or where the scheme management and things like that. But right now we are focusing on HR to be done first. So once we do HR, then probably we'll look at anything to do with service, more of a somebody requesting and then you want to fulfill. So that is what we are planning to use this platform for.
You use the phrase customer satisfaction. What's been the response from employees after moving to this platform? How have you been monitoring the fulfillment of those requests, the service requests, the tickets better?
Yeah, since the system is fully automated in terms of service request to completion and then the entire SLA management and all that, so everything is automatically available as part of the reports. So we constantly manage, every month, we have this monthly review meeting. So one is every asset that comes and goes out of the system is something which is recorded, and we keep track of warranty information and all that. And ours is a leased asset, so we also enter the leased asset, agreement number and expiry date and all that stuff. And then since the whole system is workflow based, and the system automatically captures every event that happens, you are able to easily track the start to finish. And then what we've also done is that whenever a service is completed, or a system automatically sends a mail saying that closed your call, and if you have got any query, respond within 48 hours. Within 48 hours, if you don't respond, it automatically gets closed. Then you have got situation where a user asks for some time to be kept open. So all those things are configurable. So with all that, the life has become much easier for the IT people, and everything is there. It is not that I told you this or I told you that. Like every call is registered, whether it is an automated call or it is a manually generated call, it gets recorded. Of course, users have an option also to log a ticket through an email. So most people, while sending an email, they don't send only to support. They will mark some 10 other people. So that's a typical habit. But gradually we are seeing people moving towards opening the application and then putting that, saying that I have got this problem. But that's a gradual journey. But every incident is logged into the system, and every ticket is analyzed and SLA tracked, first time call resolution, all those things, matrices are managed. Today with everything is all available.
Fantastic. Where do you see Are you starting to see that this platform will extend into other modules as well, for even IT operations?
IT operations, I have already covered the availability piece, which is my server management, network management is already covered, and incident management is already covered, change management is already covered. Now, ideally, what we would have preferred or would have liked to have is this platform allowing you to build your own application, having a workflow engine and things like that, which I believe is in the plan, but they are probably a little behind in terms of times. They should have been already having that by this time, is what I was trying to tell them. So that is what is required. So the platform should have rapid application development capability. See, today what happens is that if I want to build a form, I need to go to them. I cannot build my own forms. I can do a few field addition here and there, but then that is not good enough, because I need to have a robust, if I want to, let us say, enable one process, I should be able to design a form, define a workflow, and define a metrics and define a reporting system. All those things I should be able to do. Today they are not there yet. That is what probably we would have, if they had that, probably we would have been able to use that for our further digital initiative that we have been trying to drive.
Okay. It's good that you talked about digital, because we started this conversation about that. And I know that there's this very interesting project you and your team have been working on to do with beer sampling and tasting. Why don't you walk us through what that project is about?
Yeah, that's a project which is very close to our heart, because as you know, we are in a consumer product industry, and the product that we sell, people consume. We looked at this entire process of how this whole quality management process works. You will be surprised to note that every day every brewery does a sampling of maybe about 4 or 5 samples, and they sample every day from each for each recipe, they call it. So each recipe they'll have to whatever is going to, before it goes to the market, they are supposed to do that. And this has got some flavor analysis and then testing, and then it's conventional, people write it on a piece of paper, the paper is filed, and then there is a process of after all the, and it is done by typically 12 people are the panelists. It should be minimum of 8, but it can go up to 12 to 15. So each panelist are supposed to write about each of those samples. Then they have to have a collective decision on what exactly is the final understanding of what is the final score for that, and they are all scored. There's a score like the way you get your school scorecard. There's 88 out of 100 and 90 out of 100, and less than 75 or I think 80 or something is the borderline score, below which the beer is never passed. So it has to have a minimum score of this for it to pass. And then we notice the kind of process that is being followed and the kind of effort that is being put to take this data, put it into an Excel analysis, then month-end analysis, quarterly analysis. Then there is a central technical cell which collects all this information. They do further testing. Then there is a regional testing. Then there's an inter-brewery testing. There's a whole lot of process around it. So when we looked at all that, we saw the kind of manual processes that are being followed and the effort that is being put to collate all this information and the kind of paper that they generate. So when we looked at that, it was a mind-boggling figure of something like 400,000 sheets of paper is what they generate.
My God.
On an year. So we thought this is an ideal project in our Go Digital strategy. So we decided to take this as one of the first project, not only because it has a lot of impact, and second thing is it will make things much easier. So this is the application that we are trying to build. So for which we have finalized like I said, an application development platform, rapid application development platform, where I can build and deploy. The whole thing is on the cloud, and the idea is to build applications in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then roll out. And the best part of this whole project is that whatever I build, I am trying to build for all types of devices. So it is one development, and you can access the system using your computer, a tablet, or a mobile phone, and all that. So what we are trying to say is that while the taste panelist has to come to the panel for drinking, but he can put his comment over a mobile phone rather than trying to use a piece of paper and write, and that automatically gets collated. And this entire things like organizer, panelists. The whole process has been more structured, and you can't say that I will not do this or I will not do that, because the whole process has been stitched together in such a way that everywhere I do test, or any kind of test that I do, including the test that happens in our head office, where all the CEOs and the senior managers also do testing, and they also do the same thing. We thought that also should go through the same system, so the entire tasting process across all breweries will be same, and the data recording will be same, analysis will be same, and it will be instantaneous reporting. So that's the project that we are talking about.
Fantastic. Interesting work if you can get it. Thank you so much, Ramki. Thank you for taking us through this entire journey that you've been talking about. We've been in conversation with S. Ramakrishnan, Divisional Vice President, United Breweries, who's been telling us about the digital journey that United Breweries has been undertaking, the part that automation plays in making this journey possible, and how IT is getting intrinsically involved in improving the quality of the product, of their key product, which is beer itself. The mission statement for United Breweries is threefold. It is to become the market leader in all the markets and geographies it operates in. It is to be the preferred employer wherever they are operating, and it is to be the partner of choice for customers and suppliers. And what we've seen through this conversation with Ramki is how IT and IT automation and digitization are making all of those mission statements very, very possible for United Breweries today. Thanks so much for watching.